We've seen industrial construction spending in the United States increase by a factor of 10 in the last 3 years. Almost two-thirds of that predates anything the Biden administration has done. So this is just corporations realizing that they have weaknesses in their supply chain and reshoring as much as they possibly can, as quickly as they possibly can. So all of the trends pre-government decision making were already pushing us towards our record low unemployment. The Biden stimulus is on top of that.
Do we then just continue with low unemployment for many, many years to come?
Well, we need to double the size of the industrial plant before the end of the decade. That strikes me as being so labor intensive that we will not have what we would consider to be a traditional recession. Because if you've got high employment and high compensation, those are the two weak points that normally trigger a recession. And they're just not even part of the picture. And if the banking sector is more or less okay, we're looking at a very different correction, if that's the right word, when something goes wrong. It'll probably be rooted in inflation. Because if we have record low unemployment and record low capital costs and record high needs for capital and labor, that's putting stresses on the system in a very different way than anything we've seen in the last century.
There's another $1.7 trillion coming due in multifamily in the next 36 months.
I'm not so worried about that one.
You're not concerned about China except if it implodes on itself. You're not concerned about Russia unless it goes nuclear.
Of all of the property sectors in the United States, the one that I am worried about is office space.
Yeah, there's about $1.5 trillion worth of office debt out there.
Here, let me explain why. Okay, so the millennials are finally having kids, and the boomers are moving into retirement spaces. For both of those categories, families starting out and people looking to move in together for old folks' homes, multifamily looks more or less okay for me. It's not that there's not stress. There's always going to be some degree of stress, but the demographic factors that are driving how we live seem to support that space. That's not how it works with office space. The boomers loved their offices. They felt it was a cultural requirement, and they're now retiring, and they were the largest generation ever. The next generation in is Gen X. They are the second smallest generation ever, and they hate the office. And they're now becoming the decision makers, and there's fewer of them. So you have a lower commitment and a lower participation rate, not interested in the asset class at all. The new generation coming in from below, the Zoomers, are the smallest generation we've ever had. They are antisocial. They are the quintessential gig worker. They never want to come into a general working environment. So you've got the largest generation ever moving out. The new decision makers don't like this space, and the new workers, there aren't enough of them anyway, and they won't come in anyway. So that tells me that office space overall is overbuilt by at least 1/3.
A third.
Yeah,
okay.
So when these loans come due, you're just going to have landlords that just hand the keys to the banks.
Yeah,
and if that building can be repurposed, great. If not, uh-oh.
Yeah, I think a lot of that will just be bought at a much cheaper price, and it still cash flows, and somebody will fill it up over time.
If you don't need, if there aren't enough workers, and if the workers who do exist don't want to come in, do you need all that space?
We have 1,000 employees. People want to come into work here. Less than 20% of our workforce
Are
here.
they mostly millennials? Because the millennials love the water cooler.
Are they mostly millennials? I don't know. What average person here probably is 25, 26 years old. What generation
they're
is
technically
that?
millennials, but they're on the young side. Yeah.
People that work here want to make money. They want to make money. They want to make money.
Most people work because they want to make money. They don't just work just cause.
Well, I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is that the new generation coming up from below is much smaller, and they don't want to come in at all.
Yeah, but you would agree, I think, that the major institutions, the Facebooks, the Googles, the Apples, all the banks, all said, man, remote is the way to go, and we're going to let our people work from home. It was a fucking massive failure. They've all now admitted it did not work. Productivity went down. They did not build the team, the culture, skill set went down, like every major metric.
Right. And if I agree with you on everything, not sure I do, but let's say I do.
Yeah.
I'm saying the numbers aren't there. The number of physical butts to put in seats don't exist to maintain office space in what we've been used to for the last 40 years.
Yeah. As smart as you are, you still could not figure out how to get rid of $1.3 trillion.